It's time for another Dice Tower review with Z. Garcia.
Hey everybody, today I'm taking a look at an expansion to Castle Panic, and that expansion is right here, the Dark Titan. Now this game already had an expansion called Wizard's Tower, and this is a second expansion. I'm going to show you what this introduces. I'll not be teaching you the game. You can go see a different video for that if you want to learn how the game works, how the game plays, because I'm just going to be showing you what's new in the box here. And we'll come back after that, and I'll tell you if I think this is something you should pick up, all right? So, here we go. So the expansion comes with a few new cards, it comes with a few new tokens here, it comes with this new figure on a stand, and it comes, of course, with a rulebook, as you can see here. The rulebook is very nicely done. Explains everything well. So I'm going to be showing you each part of the expansion here on its own, but you do pretty much use it all together. And we're going to start with the cards that you mix into the player's deck. So the cards come with, it's just a few cards. You have Boiling Oil in all three colors here. And so all three are identical except for the color they'll be affecting on the board. And they say damage all monsters in the red swordsman ring for 1 point. So red, same thing for blue, same thing for green. The other two cards are this one, which says you choose a ring or a color and all players may play all their hit cards of that type. So that's interesting. And then Cavalier here, which says you can place the Cavalier token in any arc of the swordsman ring. And the Cavalier is this token here. The way this token works is it'll be a new piece which is going to move around on the board itself, and it has its own rules which are going to happen after you've played your cards but before the monsters themselves move. And the way it works is they are going to move a single space. You can move forward, so towards the castle, backwards, right, left, so it can move one space somewhere in the ring, and the Cavalier is going to deal 2 points of damage to the monster it ends up with, and it's going to take damage equal to the monster's health. And so the way that works is we have here a goblin, and so if the Cavalier ends up with that goblin, it is going to deal damage to it, and it is going to take 1 damage itself. 1 damage, it would kill the goblin. 1 damage will not kill the Cavalier, but anything above that will kill the Cavalier, and it'll go away from the game, and the way to get it back in the game would be to have to get this card again later on once the deck has been shuffled through once. Besides the Cavalier, there's these new tokens, and this stack here is what the game calls the Elite Monsters, and we have Elite Goblins with a single hit point of life. There we go. 2 of those, 2 Elite Orcs, and 2 Elite Trolls. And what's different about them is that they have that symbol there. See if we can get that to focus. There you go, right there. It's a 1 and a 2 on dice, and they're slashed out. And what that means is every time you play a card to affect these monsters, you are going to have to roll a die, and on a 1 or a 2, you do not hit them at all. You've wasted your card, you continue. And so they're harder to hit, possibly, and they introduce a little bit of a luck factor into attacking the monsters, whereas normally you play the card, you know you hit them. These Elite Monsters, you might not hit them. Besides that, we have this Boom Troll here. The Boom Troll, once it hits a structure or is killed, it will explode. It'll do some damage to structures, or it might kill the Cavalier if the Cavalier kills it because it explodes. It might destroy additional monsters, things like that. And then over here we have some action tiles, which blue play, you have to get rid of all your blue cards, green, red, and a tile called Wither, which means it banishes the top card of the castle deck. That one is gone from the game. We have also here a Dark Sorceress. The Dark Sorceress, when she comes into play, every player is going to discard 1 card from their hand, And while she's on the board, the hand size for every player is reduced by 1, and that the red border is there to remind you of that. The main baddie that the game introduces is this character here, Agronok. As you can see, Agronok has quite a few hit points. In fact, there's more on the other side. And Agronok is brought into play. At the beginning of the game, you are going to choose which card to pick for Agronok. Again, these are difficulty settings, and you can pick the one you want to fight against, or you could do so randomly. So let me pick one of the ones in the middle here. You're going to pick that, you're going to put it aside, and throughout the game, heralds will show up in the game, and they look just like these other tokens, but they'll say they are heralds. And so when you get the first one, you are going to put it here in this spot, and you are going to do the effect that it says there. So all players discard one hit card of their choice, and so you do that. Again, this token, when it comes into play, will not go on the board. It goes on this card to signal that Agronok is coming. And then the second one, you'll do the same thing. You'll put it there. All players discard one special card of their choice. And lastly, you roll for a giant boulder. After that, then Agronok comes into play. And Agronok, depending on the card you've picked, will attack, etc. And will after that, you roll a die every turn, and he'll do something specific, depending again on the level you've picked. Agronok can get hurt like other monsters, but you have to take him down from 8 all the way down to 2, and in fact, from 2 you must kill him because he does not have 1. So you have to do 2 hits at the same time to deal the death blow to him. So that is Agronok. The final part of the expansion is these support tokens here. The support tokens are come from the bag, just like other tokens, but they are there to help you. And the idea is each of these can take some hits, as you can see, but you are trying to get them to the castle without getting hurt, and they will give you some bonus if you can get them in there. They do not normally move on the board, and so what you need to do to move them is you need to, on your turn, you may discard a card. You can discard any color card to move one of them one space, forward, back, right, or left. It does not matter where you move them. You are trying to avoid the monsters. So that's what you may do. You can move these by discarding cards from your hand. You can discard as many color cards as you want to move a support token. And once they do reach the castle, then they'll each give you a special power. The reserve squad, which is this one here, is going to give the current player a point of damage to deal out equal to the current health of that reserve squad. And so if it never got hurt during the game when you got it in, you get to deal out 3 damage points as you see fit. You can deal them anywhere on the board, including the forest, including the castle. Obviously, let's say it got in there with just 1 life because it got hurt along the way, and you get hurt by sharing a space with a monster, then you would just deal out 1 damage. So that is the reserve squad. Here we have the supply wagon, and this one, each player, starting with the current player, would draw a number of cards from the castle deck equal to the current health of the supply wagon. So 2, possibly 1. And lastly, here we have the stonemason's cart. And the stonemason's cart lets the current player build a number of walls equal to the health of this stonemason's cart. So 1 wall up again, or 2. And that is the final piece of the puzzle here. Again, you have new tokens, you have new cards, you have some new help, possibly, and new help from the Cavalier as well, and you have this new massive threat, Agronok. I really like what this expansion adds to the game. I like all the parts, and they all work really well into the game. The new cards, there are few, but they're neat. I like that. The rider that runs around and helps you, that's neat. It's, again, a minor element, but it's neat. I like that the story arc is now very dramatic. You have that big baddie coming, and the heralds keep showing up, and you're worried about when he's gonna, it's like, you know, you see it getting closer and closer, and oh boy, if we draw one more, he's gonna show up, and I really like that. I like that he behaves in an interesting way with the rolling of the dice. I like that he has difficulty levels. I really like the tokens you are trying to get into the castle, because that's a whole new thing that this game was not really doing before. Now, the spin-off of this game with a zombie theme, that's a different game called Dead Panic. that game had some movement around the circle that sort of behaves the way that some of the pieces in this game behave. But I'm really glad they took some of those ideas and implemented them into this game, and it's seamless. It really is. And so I have to recommend it. It mixes well with the first expansion. I've played with it, I've played without it, but really it's so easy to have both in there. The game gives you in the rules a setup of how to do that. It's very clear. The new things are all really solid. There's no one little part of it that I thought, that would have been better if they had left that one thing out. No, I like all of it. And so I have to give this a thumbs up. I really like it. If you enjoy the base game, if you have the first expansion already, you got to get this one. If you don't have the first expansion already, the Wizard's Tower, then I would say get that one first. But I have a feeling you're going to be buying this one right on the heels of that one, because really, this adds a solid amount of stuff. So check this one out, folks. The Dark Titan for Castle Panic. Really, really solid expansion. Check it out.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.